Welcome back to Thursday's Daily Rundown with me, Dan Morfitt. Nina and Jacob are still here, ready to dissect more of the stories of the day. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Jacob?
I'm ready, yeah.
Bit violent there, but nevertheless. A teachers' union leader has warned that girls feel they have to choose between being attractive or clever because of sexist name-calling in schools. It can lead to lessons with boys talking and girls listening. And she went on to warn that this could lead to a sorting of girls and a feeling that it was not possible to be both brainy and feminine. The government has said that bullying is not to be tolerated, and that includes sexist bullying. So do we need to think that more smart role models are needed on the telly for girls? Jacob?
Definitely, and I'm really surprised because you just look at the actress who played Hermione Granger, you know.
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson, very intelligent, very pretty young girl, very clever, and very, you know, she's a feminist as well, you know.
But do their looks matter? Surely.
I'm just wondering if it's the right question.
Yeah.
It's a really, in some ways it's a ridiculous question because it's like saying you can't be one or the other, but you can be both. And it doesn't matter.
Or you can be either or,
yeah.
and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But it shouldn't matter either way, but you can be both. And then
but surely in that being pretty is the least of the criteria.
Yeah. It's like saying, girls, you can be clever, but if you're pretty, even better.
What's the definition of pretty though? What is there?
Absolutely, because my husband thinks I'm gorgeous,
of course he does.
and not everybody does.
Of course he does.
I find that shocking.
You know, of course he does.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't he? You know, and why wouldn't anybody else? But the problem is a definition of what pretty is.
But that's society, isn't it? That's what does the pretty thing.
I think these young girls in schools have a very clear definition.
Yeah, of course they do.
What pretty is meant to be.
And it's a very narrow one.
It's a very narrow definition. I think there's something in this. I think there's something not just to do with choosing to be pretty or clever, but choosing to be quiet.
Yeah.
Because men have maybe more confidence or more presence, or we're possibly there's literature I reckon to back this up. Possibly in a society where there's a bit more male privilege, where you're more likely to sit like you switched off now. You don't know what I'm talking about. I spoke for 5 seconds, and I could say he was drifting.
I'm looking at your beautiful eyes and your cherry red hair.
But I think there is something in that. When I was growing up, I remember, because I grew up with 2 men. My mum wasn't around when I was younger, and I had to get in quick to make my point and try and be funny to make a point, because I had less natural airtime.
But it's good for this leader of teachers to come out and say this, but it is almost saying, if you're not clever, ladies, at least you can be attractive.
But why?
If you're clever, you don't need to put on some lippy.
Yes.
But if there's the Uber woman, and some people might go, that Rachel Riley, she's blonde, she's got TNA, and she's got a degree from Oxford or Cambridge or something.
I can't believe that we sort of hold that up as a sort of rarity. Well,
that's the thing. Men can go to Oxford or Cambridge, and we'll put them on television.
Like a King Edward's potato, and it doesn't
we shouldn't
matter.
be having this conversation still. We shouldn't be having this debate in 2016 about what role women have to play in society and whether or not they should follow this path. It should be about based on everyone's merit, you know, as an individual, not on what they look like, on their intelligence, because intelligence itself.
But what his point highlighting is that there is an issue there, isn't there?
Of course,
I think there definitely still is. But I also wondered about the boys in the classroom, because I don't know about you growing up, but crucially they were kind of quite shy boys, aren't they?
I don't think Jacob was interested in the girls then.
Yeah. But as a young gay man, perhaps that's like you don't want to be the alpha male in the class or speak out. There's lots of reasons why you won't speak out that are not gender specific.
Guys are more threatened by a masculine gay man than they are a camp gay man. You know, people they like their little boxes and definitions they can put people in, you know, and like, oh, pretty and intelligent, oh no, you can't be in those 2 boxes at the same time, and you got to choose this and you got to do that, and it's sad because I know teachers say girls are still steered to do certain subjects, steered away from science, steered away from technology,
do the humanities, do English,
sports, you know, certain sports as well, and it is really sad because why are we still doing this in 2016?
Why are young girls feeling that they can't shout out about their cleverness, about how brainy they are? Why do young women still feel like that? That is the issue.
And on that, Kim Kardashian, for all we know, could have a PhD.
Yeah.
but we'll never ask her about it.
Just look at the House of Commons. It's still not 50-50, is it? So it's still not 50% women MPs and men MPs.
I love you. Not in that way.
This is a beautiful daily rundown this evening. Now, another story. The Campaign for Real Ale Society, also known as CAMRA, has a record high number of people wanting to join their cause. They now boast 177,000 members, with craft beers, real ale and cider now more popular than ever. But more clubs are closing down than ever before. Between 2009 and 2013, 3,800 new coffee shops were opened, while at the same time 4,500 pubs closed and called their final last orders. Now they're wondering if they should change their focus on saving the local. Now the future of a decent pint seems assured. So are you worried about your favourite local pub disappearing? Nina, have you got a local?
Well, yeah, sort of. We do go to a pub that's a real ale pub, actually, and it's got loads of character and stuff, and it's mainly populated with men with beards. Because that's who drinks real ale now,
isn't it? A good Jakeb beard or a slight one like mine?
No, the good,
hipster beard,
hipster beard. Good hipster.
One of the arguments, and I've been seeing this representative from CAMRA, has said that the hipster has saved beer. The
hipster saved beer, definitely.
And that's a good thing. It's not necessarily real ale because they have, strident rules about what a real ale is. It has to be fermented in the barrel. It has to be cask conditioned, rather than they say like a keg beer. God, I remember being in a cellar all these years ago as a cellarman, not anything else. But they're saying that the hipsters have brought it back. But the problem now is,
well, that kind of gentrifies it, doesn't
Yeah.
it? So it becomes a hipster pursuit going for a beer, rather than you losing that kind of local spit and sawdust sat at the end of the bar being a bit racist and sexist.
We all know those.
That's all sort of died a death, hasn't it? Well. Smoking was the first nail in the coffin, and cheap alcohol at supermarkets, I think, cemented it. On
that then, the smoking bans affected things. Jakeb, do you think people are not going into the pubs now that are closing down because they do smell of BO and guff?
Yeah,
and
they do.
They are still just full of lager louts.
I think there's lots of reasons for it. I think people maybe going out clubbing more. People are not as well off as they were. The standard the wage level hasn't increased much over the last 5 or 6 years.
So they don't have much disposable income?
There's not much disposable income. It is, like you said, if people have mates around and they have beer at home, it's kind of the image of it's a bit sad to go to the pub, but things go in cycles, don't they? So
and maybe we'll go back to... pubs kind of part of a community. Like if you lived in a sort of mill town, that's where everybody hung out. Yeah. Whereas this sense of community is kind of gone. So the hangouts, the working men's clubs, the pubs. We went there for a reason, didn't we, to socialise. And
shift patterns are different now. Everybody used to clock off at 5:30, go to the pub straight away.
We used to go to the pub at lunchtime. I don't know about you, but I remember being able to go for a beer in my break.
My teacher used to smell a beer and they came back at lunchtime. So,
But, is it just market forces? Is it just our lifestyles are changing, so the pub's not as focal for the local anymore?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I just came up with that in my head. Amazing.
There's probably a number of reasons. It's not just one in isolation. It's other things. It's like the nature of how people socialise has changed. Like going for a coffee or whatever. Brewing at home.
And is it necessarily a bad thing that these pubs...
Homebrew's coming back in a big way.
Homebrew is coming back. I'm starting my own IPA.
I looked at a kit the other day. My son suggested we should make some, and I thought, that's a fun project.
30p a pint. But it's not a terrible thing if bad pubs are closing, though, is it? Because we're counting we look at statistics, and at face value, 4,500 pubs closing is bad. But I live by the maxim: never go into a pub with a flat roof.
What percent?
Yeah, it's a good.
Yeah, it's a good motto to live by.
And in Scotland, never go into a pub with no windows. There's lots of those. Yeah.
So the bad pubs closing surely ups the game for the newer pubs and these hipster craft beer bars.
The type of pub is changing because you've got gastro pubs and this type of pub and stuff like that. Where it's a burger and chips is like 25 quid. You know what I mean?
But then you don't see the old barflies of yesteryear that would stand at the end of the bar, drink a half every 4 hours and tell everybody where they're going wrong in their life.
Yeah. Because now you can't have those long conversations about who's right because someone will just Google it.
So you're saying the mobile phone is being worried because the barfly?
I think that's killed the barfly.
Those days were great because you'd have a conversation and be like, what was the name of that guy in that cartoon?
For hours.
And then you'd come back the next day or a week later with the answer.
I've been to the library.
What was the name of that? Right, straight onto the iPhone. Oh, Fred. Oh, great. Well, that's that conversation dead, isn't it? You know.
When you go into a pub nowadays, how often do you go into a pub and it's like this?
You're so right.
What? Yeah, another pint, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, stop, you're watching Netflix
and
on your phone.
I also don't know like the way that people are documenting my night out without my permission. You used to be able to go into a pub and do things that, you know, only
it was a sanctuary.
You only had to feel guilty about in the morning. Nobody needed to know. But now it's hard to be private, isn't it?
Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
People nigging off to the toilet.
I'm out with Gilligan, and it's like, you know, I've just told that other friend I couldn't go out. It's like you're ruining my little white lies.
And of course it doesn't exist if it's not on Facebook. You didn't have a night out.
And that constant.
You need validation of your social life.
Yeah.
Just in the pub, lols.
Yeah.
I hate those people.
I find it sick for work.
Yeah.
I haven't been drinking.
And that has caused a lot of people problems at work, hasn't it? People have been sacked for such
The
things.
thing is, though, all this talk has now got me gagging for a pint.
Should we go for a pint? I don't think you'll get in round here with that beard.
I can't. You can. You got some time off.
Got a beard.
That's all we have time for in this part of the show, but we'll be back. It's all about timing. Jakeb, great beard. And we'll be back in a few minutes' time about the deportation of some of our most vital workers. That's if they're earning less than 35 grand. Find out more in the Daily Rundown in just a couple of minutes' time.